Hi, welcome to Caregiver Cast. My name is Elaine Petrucci, your host. My guest today is Brooke Kekos, who will be talking to us about mindset, which is a big problem with, our big concern, I should say, with caregivers when they're really stressed and overwhelmed. Before I introduce Brooke, I'm just going to give you some background information about her. Brooke Kekos helps those who feel alone and lost to discover their truth and stand in their personal power using her training as a magnetic mindset coach, rapid transformational therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and relationship mentor. Having spent 35 years trapped in a religious sect, indoctrination, abuse, and trauma were prevalent. Raised by a narcissistic, abusive father, she got stuck in toxic relationship cycles. This led her to enter marriage for 17 years with a narcissistic, abusive man. However, able to break free from both the relationship and the religion. Shortly after, her ex-husband and father to their two sons passed suddenly to addiction. With this great loss, it ignited her desire to heal more deeply. Through her loss and trauma, Brooke's intuition and her soul's calling were revealed. After 18 years as an aesthetician, listening to people's stories, she knew that she could do more to serve those suffering and help them on their healing path. She is currently working on her book, a speaker to help others in their own transformation, and the owner of Life Coaching Goddess. Her passion and purpose is to help others heal from past traumas, toxic relationships, and limiting beliefs that are no longer serving them. Welcome, Brooke, to Caregiver Cast.
Thank you, Mary, for having me. I'm very delighted to be here today.
Sounds like you had a very traumatic background. Can you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, of course. So, with being in the religious sect that I was in, it was very controlling and mind controlling, if you will. So I had very limited beliefs, and I really didn't have the ability to make my own beliefs, right? So I was born into it. It was all I knew. And so I was very trapped in that really fixed, limited mindset for so very long, right? And then being raised by someone that was narcissistically abusive to me as well, I grew up with these limiting beliefs of feeling like I wasn't good enough, like I never could be enough. I had extremely low self-esteem. And so that got me stuck in obviously the next toxic cycle. And that was how I got married to the same type of person. Literally married someone that was exactly like my father. In so many ways, right? And a lot of people get stuck in those type of addiction cycles, right? Because it's all we know and we don't know anything different. And so that's all I knew of love, right? That's what I thought love was. And so for so long, I didn't know the difference. And in 2017 is when my actual then ex-husband found out that the religious sect was a sham, or if you will, found some things that were just not the right teachings, and realized how limited we were being and kind of mind controlled, and kind of started to open up his mind and see that, there was probably more out there for us to believe. And we had been, brainwashed for so long. So when he found those things out, that kind of rocked the boat, and it made me kind of realize that there were some things that needed to change. And then one of those was our relationship, because I was realizing that I was in an abusive relationship at that time, and for so long I didn't realize it. So when I did that, I broke free from the marriage, so started the divorce process, and then I broke free from the religious sect as well, which was really difficult because within this religious sect, if you leave, you lose your friends and your family. So I lost the support of my family, and I lost all of my friends that I had known all my life for all of my 35 years. They just were gone. And so I had to recreate my life from the ground up, really, because I was really all alone in the world, besides the family that I did have that wasn't in the religious sect. And then I had to kind of create new friendships and really explore being outside of that. I hate to say the word cult, but that religious sect, because that was all I knew, and
Mhm.
that's all I knew of friendship. So I had to recreate myself and really kind of, it was a lot of curiosity and exploration.
Wow, what a story, compelling story. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so how did you make that switch from being mind controlled in the religious sect to learning more about yourself?
So that shift was really difficult for me, to be honest, because I had been conditioned for so long
Mhm.
to believe a certain way. Those beliefs were extremely ingrained in me, and so I had a really hard time, like, being open to other ideas, right? Being open to explore, because it was like almost like a fearful state of mind for me. So I had to start beginning to realize those were like my old beliefs, and those really weren't serving me anymore. And so I could honestly kind of be curious. And I started to do that, right, for myself. I started to say, okay, maybe I can start to explore and start to think, what are my beliefs? What does resonate with me and what doesn't? And so once I started doing that, I started kind of rediscovering some things that were interesting to me. But in that, I also started the healing journey of unraveling years of abuse, of mindset and limited beliefs, and all of these things that I had to unravel. Right, I had to see what
Mhm.
they were, and I had to discover them, and I had to shift and change them. So I actually got into a healthy relationship, which at the time I didn't realize was healthy, because I didn't even know what a healthy relationship looked like. And
Well,
so,
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, if what you had been used to um,
yeah,
didn't work for you in the past, but you don't know
exactly.
what the opposite of that type
Yeah,
of relationship should be.
exactly. So that actually triggered me into realizing all the things I needed to understand about myself and change.
Mm,
And it was there to teach me, right? It was there to teach me that these are the things that needed to heal within me. And so I began doing some normal traditional talk therapy with a psychologist. And while that was really helpful, I was still really stuck. I had really intense PTSD, extreme
mm,
anxiety. I was on medication. I was at times, I'm very honest in my journey. At times, I was addicted to Xanax, because I felt that was
mm,
the only way that I could cope with my anxiety, because it was so extreme. Was taking that medication and kind of just like really drowning myself with that with that
mm,
distraction.
mhm.
And so while I was coping, right, I wasn't really fully dealing with all of those things, but I was slowly unraveling things. And then in 2020, that is when my ex-husband passed, and that was
Mm,
the father of my two children. And that was that was the biggest blow that I've had
yeah.
of my whole life. And I
Mm,
granted I've had a lot of things happen, but that was a big blow. And even though he was abusive to me, he was also a part of my journey. I believe that we have people
mm,
on our journey here in life that come to teach us things. And
mhm.
I believe he was one of my greatest teachers.
Right.
So I look at it as he was the catalyst to, if you will, of awakenings for me to live differently, and to heal differently in this lifetime. So for that, the grief was so painful,
Mhm.
and then watching my boys grieve, the literally my whole world was my two boys, and that was probably one of the most difficult things, and that just really shifted everything for me. I realized I needed even more to do some greater, deeper healing work, and in that is where I found RTT, where I found so many modalities, other than just traditional talk therapy, that were there to help me in this healing journey. So I'm very grateful for that.
Wow. So was your ex-husband still and your son still in the cult when he passed?
No, we all had broken free.
Okay.
We had all, and I hate to say it like that, but it is like that because your mindset is so, within that space, you're not allowed to look outside of the literature that the cult puts out.
Mhm.
So anybody that is controlling you will tell you that, right? So don't look outside, don't look at any other information. It's all bad. It's all bad. So there was a lot of fear that was instilled in us. Like we weren't allowed to look outside of that cult. We weren't allowed to do our own research. We were like directed and fear mongled and all of these things. And so
Mhm.
yeah, thankfully we all were able to kind of break free from that. And that's one of the reasons why my ex-husband never recovered. He was struggling to recover from the loss of everything that he thought was once the truth.
Right.
And
Right.
so he lost himself in addictions. It was just easier for him, and so that's what happens to a lot of people, right? And is when they do lose something like that, I mean, to be able to reinvent yourself again and restart life, midlife for us, we were 35 years old. And, to be able to do that is it's not easy. I sit here and I'm, vibrant and everything else right now today, but like, I can't even tell you, my journey was so tough and so difficult because of all the loss. There was so much loss.
Oh my
in that journey.
goodness. I'm amazed that you, Brooke, that you were able to like reinvent yourself, because I can see where that would have been really devastating to leave everything that you knew and be able to start again. It must have been quite a journey. Were your sons still with you as you were going through this journey?
Yes, yeah. My
Okay.
sons were mostly with me. Obviously, you can tell my ex-husband wasn't doing his best, considering he died of addiction. So
Right.
he was struggling, to be the father that he always wanted to be. It doesn't mean that he didn't want to be that. He just wasn't able to find himself again. And so, but I think, yeah, my boys were definitely, I always tell them, I don't tell them this. I know I will tell them this one day when they're older. They were my saving grace. They made me want to get up in the morning.
Okay.
We get a little emotional here, but they made me want to keep going when I felt like giving up.
That would be a huge incentive,
Yeah.
because if you made different choices, it would have increased like the intensity of the trauma that they went through.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I really admire you for coming out of this religious sect and reinventing yourself. So you said that you saw rapid transformational therapy. How did you find it? And how did it help in your journey?
Um, so when all this happened and I was searching for answers,
Mhm.
it was kind of funny. It was like things and people were just coming into my awareness, and I was being sent all the right things, right, on this journey to help me kind of explore and understand myself deeper. And one of those things was RTT. I was actually just I'm never on YouTube, which is so funny because we're doing a YouTube interview right now. And all of a sudden, for some reason, something popped up on my phone and I just went to YouTube. And what was one of the things was rapid transformational therapy. It was a little ad. And I was like, oh, what is this? I had never even heard of the concept. I didn't understand it. And hypnotherapy, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds completely woo woo. Like, I can't do that, because hypnotherapy was, again, something in the
Right.
religious sect that would have been like, you cannot do that. That is bad. That is not good. Like, so it would have been something. So I was literally like, oh, what is this? But once I started to do some deeper searching, I was like, oh my gosh, this completely makes sense. I want to try to understand this. And so when I started understanding it and then getting the treatment, I was like, okay, I need to do this for a job. Like, I need to help people, not only on the outside. I was making them look beautiful and young and all of these things, but I'm like, I need to help people on the inside, right? I was already kind of doing the work. People would lay on my table They would talk to me about their problems. I would try to help them.
Mhm.
But this was so greater because I realized how much faster you can get relief and results, because I was actually working through the things, with an RTT therapist,
Mhm.
for my PTSD, for my anxiety, all of these things.
Mm.
And I was starting to understand why I had these things. And now, realizing that in the subconscious mind, that it was all things from the past, and being able to shift, move through those beliefs, and then being able to actually reprogram my mind to do the exact opposite. And I didn't even really understand the neuroscience behind it at the time. But after I had
Mhm.
the experience of it, I was like, and then in the schooling, I really opened up my mind to so much greater things, and realizing how this therapy can give people relief so much quicker. And I was like, oh, I got to tell everybody about this, and I got to do this as a job. And, so I literally switched careers, after 20
Mm.
years of being in the beauty industry. And now this is why I do what I do.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing your journey. So, how would a caregiver begin to reframe their beliefs, thoughts, and thought patterns when they're so stuck because they feel so isolated? They feel like
Mhm.
they're not being heard or seen for that matter. So,
Yeah.
what would you recommend how caregivers should, well, let me rephrase that. How could caregivers begin to reframe their beliefs and thoughts?
Right. So I do a little bit of a combination, like I do the RTT therapy, but also some, supplemental coaching, right? To help really enforce those beliefs and those new thoughts that we're really
Mhm.
setting into place. Because it's so important that they shift from that fixed mindset, right? Where
Right.
they're really
Mhm.
fixed in those thoughts of, oh, they're not seen and heard, and, all of those negative beliefs that
Mhm.
have been ingrained, I like to say, or imprinted on that subconscious mind, right?
Right.
So in shifting that space so they can actually have that growth mindset, and they can create those new neural pathways that are going to actually take them from here to here. And they're going to finally feel that empowerment and feel like they're seen and heard, and they're going to show up differently in life. And so when I do this therapy and the coaching that goes along with it, people have massive shifts in just one session.
Mhm.
um, they feel it in one session, and then as they listen to, a recording that I have them listen to for 21 days, they begin to see the change in how they're showing up and the shift in their world and their reality. And they're starting to see, oh, wow, I am showing up differently. Oh, I can be seen and heard. And then they're able to actually relieve some of the things, the thought patterns or the negative beliefs that they've been living with for so long, right? There's
Mhm.
massive shifts that happen. So it's about having taken them from fixed to growth, and it can be done. Everybody can do this. It's not unbelievable. It's not undoable for anybody. Everyone can do it.
I think your enthusiasm and about this use of rapid transformation therapy um, would really inspire people to go on that journey with you so that they could make those changes in their beliefs. Is there a certain amount of therapy sessions that one has to completely remove like all of those negative beliefs or thought patterns?
So most of my clients only need one session, for the rapid transformational therapy to remove whatever that symptom or issue that we're working on. Sometimes if it's something that's been really there for a really long time, and it's still kind of playing out in their day to day, we'll need to do a follow up session. But that really honestly happens so rarely in the work that I do. It's usually just that one session. And then what we can do is we can do, like I said, the supplemental coaching, to help them begin that process of unraveling all of the other stuff that kind of comes along with that process, right? So, for, like just recently, I did a woman, that had really bad anxiety. And she'd had anxiety for almost 50 years. Like this woman was like, I don't think that it's going to work, but I want to try it. I'm going to give it a try. And sure enough, she's like, I haven't had anxiety since our session. She's like, I haven't had
Wow.
my I haven't had my panic attacks. I haven't had any of these things that I used to have. And she goes, when stress does happen, she goes, I actually show up so much differently. Right. So, instead of her like taking on all of that stress and having the panic attack or her normal reactions to
Mhm.
stress, right, or panic, she's actually showing up differently. And so it
Wow.
gave her so much more awareness and helping her to actually shift into having relief, right?
Mhm.
That's what we all want, right? We want relief. And so, and because we've
Exactly.
been dealing with stress and we have a stressful environment, let's be honest, like, so it's about shifting our mindset so we don't have to suffer from those things.
Wow. So how do you use hypnosis with your clients? Is that in conjunction with rapid transformational therapy?
So it's all combined. So rapid
Oh, okay.
transformational therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy,
Okay.
psychotherapy, NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, okay, and then the hypnotherapy. So within the session, you're getting all of that combined. Okay, so I
Okay.
actually, yeah, I put you into hypnosis, which is really a state of mind. And people, when they're like, oh, hypnosis, you're going to mind control me. No, no, no. It is nothing about mind control. You are
Okay.
understanding everything that's happening. You're awake during the session. It's literally a state of mind. It is a brain wave. And so, we live our daily conscious state, right?
Hmm.
In beta brainwave, right? And then when we're stressed or everything else is crazy, it's like we're like so intensely in beta. And so it's exhausting for our bodies, right? And then when we're in more relaxed state of mind, like just think about like when you're about ready to drift off to sleep or when you first wake up in the morning, we're in like that alpha and theta brainwave. And that is hypnosis. Okay, that's that hypnotic state where you're tapping into the subconscious mind. And so that is, and then delta, of course, is sleep, right? So hypnosis is just about a state of mind. It's a brainwave. It's nothing scary. It's about helping us to understand why, what's going on in the subconscious that you keep playing out, right? Those negative thoughts, those
Hmm.
patterns. And then I help guide you through that process. And we find and discover in this process really what is it that is coming up for you and
Hmm.
why is it, what scenario, what scene is it in your mind that, or what something from your childhood, something traumatic or something that's happened in your life that has
Hmm.
left an imprint on the subconscious mind. Okay, because the subconscious mind, it doesn't decipher between bad or good, it just
Exactly.
knows what is familiar, right? So it's our autopilot. Anytime we're not consciously creating, we're going into our subconscious mind, and we're running old programs that really we don't know. With the subconscious mind, like I said, doesn't know good or bad. So it's about us removing those things and creating the new imprints that we want on our mind, so that we're creating from a better space and we're living more fully, more happy, more joyous, more less stress, right? It's all of those things. It's really powerful.
It sounds like a very powerful, both of them sound like powerful tools to really change our mindset so that we can be more present with the person that you're
Mhm.
caring for, so that
Yes.
you can actually have a more rewarding caregiving journey instead of
Mhm.
being frustrated and overwhelmed all the time. Um,
Yeah.
it seems like it would be a great benefit to caregivers to remove all of that toxic baggage so,
Yeah.
so that they can be in a better frame of mind to help someone else.
Yeah.
So, with your mindset coaching, what do you use in addition to rapid transformational therapy and hypnosis to help your clients really, I guess, blossom into who they should be?
Yeah. Well, so I usually take them on a journey. So if they want to do something beyond, the therapy, I take them on a journey of kind of rediscovering themselves, right?
Right.
Kind of understanding, okay, what do they want? What are their values, their goals in life? Because I think sometimes we just actually, a lot of the time, many people are living from a survival state. right? We're in survival mode. We get up, we do the same routine, we have the same stresses, we have the same exhaustion every day, and then we go to bed and we wake up and we do it all over again.
Mhm.
So I'm teaching people to stop living in survival mode, right? I want to teach people
Great
to
idea.
find themselves again. I want them to understand that they need to have the fun and the play in their lives so that they can fill up their cup. So they're not coming at life with just a cup half full, right? Their cup is
Mhm.
full and then they can give to others and they're not feeling resentment. They're not feeling like they are so exhausted and they're depleted and they're all of these things. And then they're showing up frustrated, right? They're showing
Mhm.
up, not able to come fully to their job or not fully enjoying it. But
Mhm.
instead, if they're filling their cup up and they're rediscovering what makes them happy and whole, right? And doing that inner work,
Mhm.
they can then find joy in everything they're doing. They can find joy in just and being. And that's where I really like to teach
Yeah.
people, because if we can come back to that gratitude and we can come back to that space where we can really feel whole, we're going to enjoy life on a different level. Take it from me. That is, there's been so much suffering and so much stuff in my life that I could have just been stayed in that victim mentality. And I could have just been like, oh, poor me, woe is me all the time. But I knew I needed to shift that mindset, right? In
Mhm.
order to bring in the good and all of the amazingness that really life has to offer.
It just, so how long did it take you to go through this process, after you left the religious, sect? So you remarried?
I'm not remarried, but I am in a healthy, amazing relationship and have
Okay.
been in for the past 4 years, which has been such a blessing for me, because not only has it taught me so much of what real love feels like, I got that blessing, right? That was my blessing. It's like I showed up and said, okay, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to heal. And then I was allowed to, or not allowed, I was able to have that healthy relationship, right? To know what love was like. And so that was a
Mhm.
true gift for me. Um, and so it was, it's been a long journey for me. I had a lot to unravel. Not everybody has that much that much to heal from or move from.
Mhm.
Some people, it's just, there's certain things that are going on in their life that they need to know, and a lot of people, it's childhood wounding that we're not really realizing and understanding. It's that generational trauma, right? That, our parents brought to the table. They didn't know it because they didn't understand it and don't know better.
Mhm.
But helping really people heal from that so that our generations to come are so much healthier. And we have a space and a planet that is more full of people that are happy and joyous, because it's like we've
Yes.
lost a lot of that.
Mhm.
We've lost a lot of that in a lot of many decades, right? There's been a lot of change, a lot of change.
Definitely. I appreciate when you said, generational trauma, because
Mhm.
it seems, like that topic is coming to the forefront a lot.
Mhm.
So with my own, background, my grandparents were striking in, the coal fields in southern Colorado. And so they lost a child because, they weren't allowed to take their oldest child to get medical care. So that
Mhm.
child passed away. And then a month and a half later, they lost three more children in the Ludlow massacre. And
Wow.
they named the next three children after the three that passed away. And my father just continually said to me that it didn't bother him that he was named after, his 6.5-month-old brother. And
Mhm.
I was kind of surprised at that. And it wasn't until a year before he passed away that he actually wanted to give voice to those children who had, um, been massacred. So,
Mhm.
I understand that. And then a lot of the young preschool students that I worked with had a lot of family issues and things
Yeah.
that were really preventing them from moving forward. So I think catching it early and helping
Mhm.
someone go through this process so that
Yeah.
they don't have to wait until they're like an adult to really figure out, if they do, what they really need to change.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about changing and shifting things that so that we're not raising the next generations and the next generations to continue to live, as this certain way. And it's like about creating that shift, right? Because if we can heal from on a deeper level and actually do our own inner work, I mean, just think of all the ripple effect that you have for the generations to come, because you're not showing up in that way and teaching people, that's the way you show up in life, or this is how you love, or it's about completely getting rid of those conditionings that we grew up with.
Most definitely. So what are some things that you can teach us about the mind so that we can start this healing journey?
So the mind loves what's familiar. It doesn't like what's unfamiliar, okay? Because our mind's job is to keep us safe. That's its number one job, okay? So anything that's unfamiliar is going to feel fearful. It's going to be like, oh, we don't want to do this. Ew, it sounds terrible, right? So I always tell people, like, think about if you're trying to create a habit, right? So let's say you're trying to get up every morning and work out. And most mornings are like, oh, I don't want to do it. But if you create that habit and you do it for, a good solid month, your mind is going to be like, yeah, let's get up, let's go work out, like let's do it, like I'm excited for this, right? It's going to create that excitement in your mind because you created that habit, right? So you got to make the good habits familiar to your mind, not unfamiliar. And then you have to completely get rid of the negative habits so that it's not familiar, right? So you don't keep going back into that same state of mind, or that same thought, or that same pattern, or that same behavior, right? Because think about, like, in every day and how you show up. If something happens, right, let's just say something stressful happens, how do you respond, right? How are you reacting? Are you reacting the exact same way that you reacted the last time that something stressful happens?
Okay.
It's a pattern, right? It's the same thing. It's what's familiar to you. It's about creating from a different way, right? You hate the way you show up when you're stressed. If you have the panic attack, or you have whatever happens, or you lose it and you get angry or whatever, it's about creating that pattern to stop and to shift it, and to actually how you would like to show up, right, when it's stressful. Okay, how do I show up when it's stressful? Am I mindful? Do I take a breath? Do I say, oh, everything's going to be okay? Like, let's just think about this logically, right? Rather than reacting with an emotion or whatever is happening or going on for you. So it's about creating awareness, right?
Okay.
Understanding how the mind works, and it also, the mind can't have conflicting beliefs. So let's just say, oh, I really, really want to be wealthy, but your subconscious belief is, I can never be wealthy because I'm not deserving, or I'm never going to have enough, or all of these things. Your mind's going to keep going back to this negative thought pattern, because that's what you thought for so long. So it's just completely imprinted in your mind, right? But consciously, you're going to want this, and you're going to feel the resistance because it has conflicting beliefs. So it's about being coherent, right? Being coherent with the conscious mind and the subconscious mind to create what you actually are wanting.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you give us 3, I guess, takeaways from your presentation today?
Okay, that's you threw me for a loop here. I would say, well, there was a lot, right? I would say
it
one
was a lot. I agree.
is, nothing is blocking you from living your best life. Nothing is blocking you.
Okay.
We are our worst enemies. We are our worst enemies, right? We limit ourselves. You are actually limitless. And also, I would say that if there's anything that I would recommend for anyone here that is listening today, is learning how to be mindful, right? Because if you learn how to be mindful and live a life in gratitude, and just be grateful for even the small things in life, you can shift from that suffering and that resistance and that really negative, right? That negative thinking, to positive immediately every time that you do that. Every day you can make that conscious shift of just being like, oh, I'm so glad. You know, you may have gotten a flat tire on the way to work, but guess what? You're so glad you woke up and were able to go to work. Right? You
Right,
can shift,
exactly.
you can shift anything and everything.
Mhm.
So just remembering that.
Thank you very much. You have really provided us with a lot of great information about how to use rapid transformational therapy and hypnosis and just mindset coaching to help caregivers become more mindful, like you were saying, so that they could make a more positive interaction with the people around them, especially the one that they're caring for.
Yeah.
So it's my understanding that you have a free offer, Brooke?
Yes, I would love to offer just an intuitive coaching session for anybody. It's complimentary, just to meet and kind of go over and see what we can shift today, right?
Mhm. All right. Thank you so much, Brooke. I really appreciate you being here and talking about mindset, because I know that that is really one of the major factors that cause caregivers so much stress and overwhelm, is because they're so trapped into their old thinking that they can't seem to move forward to make their caregiving journey easier, more manageable, and more rewarding. So thank you so much for being here today.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome, Mary. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.